Sorry about that, bit thirsty. But, anyways, Batman fan page 75 requests that I do a review of The Waters of Mars. So I'm going to review it while drinking this. Yeah, maybe that's not the best idea after all. Cue the intro. Okay, Batman fan page 75. You know, I am glad you asked me to do this episode because this episode is a work of genius. Oh my gosh, this is just... I love this episode. This is... If I had a top 5 list of every New Who episode, even a top 3 list, this would be very high on the list. Now, my favorite episode of New Who of all time is Blink, but this is brilliant! Oh my gosh, this is just a masterpiece. I mean, oh god, I just love everything about this. But let me give you a brief synopsis about it, and then gee, where do I start? I mean, there's a lot that's just brilliant about this episode. So I'll tell you about the plot a little bit, and then I'll continue. So at this point, the Doctor is traveling alone, because his most recent companion before this was Donna, but Donna, there's the whole meta-crisis thing, so she had to have her every memory of her being with the Doctor erased. So now the Doctor is alone, and he lands on Mars in the year 2059, and he finds this team, and he remembers that they are a team, that this is the day when they are supposed to die on Mars. So what's basically going on is they all have to drink, there's this, the water has apparently been infested, and when you become basically a creature called the Flood when you drink the water, and that was a brilliant concept. And not only that, but I mean the Flood is one. Aside from the Weeping Angels, the Flood is one of the scariest Doctor Who villains of all time. And I was actually obviously. How I came up for the the one thing before the intro, was that I was actually drinking a bottle of water while when I first watched this episode, and when the Flood came on, that really didn't help. But I mean, just that, not only their look, just their look is scary enough, but not only that, but I mean, just the thought of becoming like them is just frightening. So, kudos to Russell T Davies for scaring the bejesus out of me. So that's the first part of it. The guest cast was brilliant. Oh my gosh, so brilliant. The performances were just incredible. One of David Tennant's best performances, and the actress that played Adelaide just did brilliant. Just brilliant. And what I just love everything about this episode. But to explain what I really loved about this episode is how the Doctor is the morals that the Doctor has to try and face. I mean, he had very interesting morals here. It's like in some ways he's selfish, and yet in another way, he's considerate. It's like in some ways he's the most selfish man on Earth in this episode, and in some ways, or on Mars, and then in some other ways he's the most considerate man on Earth, or on Mars. But I mean, what I mean by that is, later on in the episode, well, at first the Doctor says, "Oh no, I can't help them. It's a fixed point in time," and then he says, "Oh, I'm not just a Time Lord. I'm the last of the Time Lords." Not the crappy episode, but he's the last of the Time Lords, and he's like, I'm a Time Lord. I got to do this. I got to change time. Time travel wasn't created for no reason whatsoever. Um, and then he said, and then oh my God, when he says the laws of time are mine and they will obey me. Oh my God, that was just holy crap. Oh my God, and then the best part of this entire episode was at the very end when he says, when he's basically arguing with Adelaide, and then he says, "Oh, I am the Time Lord Victorious," and then she says, "The Time Lord Victorious is wrong," and then and then she goes in, and I love how she just goes in and she shoots herself. She commits suicide, just to tell the doctor that you shouldn't play God with life and death. That's where it really got deep. I just got chills down my spine watching this episode. This episode is one of the greatest episodes of Doctor Who of all time. I just can't explain enough how great this is. Now, I mean, obviously you guys have probably guessed this by now, but The Waters of Mars gets an easy 10 out of 10. Love this episode. I give it an 11 out of 10 if I could, but I can't, so I'll give it a 10 out of 10, but oh my gosh, this episode is just a stroke of genius. I can't explain enough. And the specials at that point, I was getting a little bit worried when the end of time was coming up, because the first two specials, The Next Doctor and Planet of the Dead, I wasn't a big fan of those two. So I started to get a little bit worried about the end of time, but then this came along. Holy crap. And the end of time was a great one too, but this was undoubtedly my favorite of all the specials. My God. So this was just a brilliant episode. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this wonderful episode. Oh gosh. Well, I'm out.